Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another What If video. My name is Viep here. As always, it is great to have you. We have another interesting topic for you today, and the topic is what if an employer seeks to impose a mandatory vaccination policy? Now, in today's video, I will be discussing the updated Occupational Health and Safety Direction, which was published on 11 June. This direction, among other things, permits an employer to implement a mandatory workplace vaccination policy subject to specific guidelines. Now, the provisions in the previous direction, the direction that was gazetted in October 2020, remains largely intact in the latest direction. The latest amendment, however, provides regulations relating to COVID-19 vaccines, as well as guidelines for employers who are considering a mandatory vaccination policy. Now let's unpack and discuss the amendments to the direction. From an administrative measure point of view, the direction provides that an employer must take steps to generate awareness and educate employees on COVID-19 vaccine, including information on the following. One, the benefits of the vaccine. Two, contraindications for vaccination, as well as the nature and risk of any serious side effects, for example, severe allergic reactions. In addition to awareness and education around the vaccine, employers must also provide administrative support to employees to register these employees on the electronic vaccine data system registration portal for COVID-19. That is quite a mouthful. Employers must also provide employees with paid time off to have the vaccination on the allocated date and time. Now, you would tell me, VP, but isn't this not open for abuse? 100%. But you may be allowed or may require the employee to provide you with proof of vaccination, particularly when the vaccination is scheduled to take place during working hours. Moving to symptom screening, we would recall in the previous directive or direction as it is currently, we need to screen employees, and if they have COVID-19 symptoms, the isolation or quarantine period will kick in. This direction, however, it confirms that the isolation procedure applicable to employees who present COVID symptoms at work would not apply to employees who present with symptoms for 1 to 3 days after having the COVID-19 vaccination. However, if an employee is unable to work after having had the COVID-19 vaccine due to, for example, side effects, the employee should be placed on paid sick leave. Now, for all the employers that are considering a mandatory vaccination for your employees, you must also comply with the following provisions. One, you need to undertake a risk assessment. This risk assessment must be done within 21 days of the commencement of the direction, and the purpose for the risk assessment is simply to determine whether you intend to make the vaccination mandatory. Now, the 21 days will run or started to run from the 11th of June this year, so you have until the 2nd of July to undertake this risk assessment. Number two, you also need to identify which employees must be vaccinated, considering risk of transmission due to the nature of the employee's work or risk of severe COVID-19 disease due to the employee's age or due to the employee having a comorbidity. After you have conducted the risk assessment, you must also clearly formulate a plan. The plan must outline the measures you intend to implement in respect of the mandatory vaccination of employees. There are certain things or items that the plan must include or elements, and this would include the following. The plan must include the identification of the employees who will be subject to the vaccination. One. Two, the process by which the obligations under the direction will be complied with by you as the employer. And three, whether the employer is planning to make it mandatory for these identified employees to be vaccinated. Now, over and above this, your mandatory vaccination policy must also contain certain information Amongst other things, the employees must be notified of the following. One, the obligation to be vaccinated once the vaccine becomes available. Two, the employee's right to refuse to be vaccinated on a constitutional or medical ground. And finally, the employee's opportunity to consult with a health and safety representative or a worker representative or a trade union official. If an employee refuses to be vaccinated on any constitutional or medical grounds, the employer should take the following steps. You should counsel the employee and, if requested, allow the employee to seek guidance from a health and safety rep, a worker representative, or a trade union official. You should also refer the employee for further medical evaluation if there is a medical contraindication for vaccination. And finally, if after you've counseled and sent the employee for further medical evaluation, the employee still refuses, it is your responsibility as the employer to then reasonably accommodate the employee in a position that does not require him, her, or them to be vaccinated. Now, this reasonable accommodation, again, employers can have a look at the Code of Good Practice in the employment of people with disabilities, but some of these accommodation measures can include: one, working off-site or from home; two, working in isolation away from other employees within the workplace; three, to work outside of ordinary working hours; or four, be required to wear a N95 mask if coming into limited contact with other employees. Ladies and gentlemen, this direction is quite important if you are contemplating implementing a mandatory vaccination policy. We have unpacked the content or the latest amendments to the direction, and if you need any assistance in this regard, remember the time is ticking, so if you require assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Until next time, bye.